I would go into a place and I would look around like, let's play. And I would spot a man and I knew that I could lure him to do whatever it was that I wanted because I understood them so well. That's where a lot of women mess up. They don't realize.
April, as a femininity coach and relationship strategist, you know how to speak man. So for anyone watching right now, how on earth can we command respect while keeping our cool and our dignity?
Number one, first and foremost, I'm not going back and forth with you like that with a man. I'm just not. And number two, I'm going to feel in my body, how does my body feel in this moment? Because I'm all about healing the nervous system. In my body, where is all of the pain or the discomfort or the anxiety coming from? And if I feel that it's all of this discomfort, I'm going to say, you know what? Let's put a pin in this and we can discuss it later. I'm not going to continue to try and go back and forth. And then if you still don't get it after we've communicated, I have a decision to make, not him. That's where a lot of women mess up. They don't realize they have the decision to make. Is this something or this situation, is it in alignment with who I am? When I'm speaking with a man, whether it's a client or whether it's a family member or someone that I'm seeing, I express myself, and then when I feel that my body can't take any of what else is going on and it's anxiety and I'm getting tense, I retreat. I don't keep trying to get you to understand. And when I feel like I'm ready to have the conversation in a different way, I will revisit it. But when I revisit it, it's going to be it's not going to be in a we need to talk. You don't tell them you need to talk, you just talk. You just talk. But the way you talk is, I was thinking. And you do it in a way, I would say even sit next to him versus from across from him. That's kind of more businessy. Sitting across from him is more intimate. And you sit down, you wave the white flag. Doesn't mean that he's right. It just means you're trying to get a particular result. If you were trying to get something, would you continue to go after it in a way that it's not working for you? You're gonna have to wave the white flag, and you gotta understand he may not even get it right away, but your actions are going to show him that you mean business. There's no attitude. There is no silent treatment. It's you put yourself first and you center yourself and then watch what happens. Once I start doing the inner work and start loving me and start realizing, April, you are enough and you always have been enough. If something isn't working as a single woman and dating, I don't blame the man. I don't even have the talk. Like, I think having the talk, is the worst thing a woman can do. And the reason why is because what you're asking is, why haven't you chosen me? What are we? Why haven't you picked me? For me, if I was in a situation and it wasn't going in the same manner, I realized, okay, this is not the same direction. What I would say is, you know what? It's been wonderful getting to know you. I've enjoyed the moments that we spent. However, I believe we are looking for two different things. So I wish you the best. And I'm going to go off and see what else the world has to offer. You see, I didn't blame him.
Now, are you saying that assuming that because if he wanted to be with you, he would have committed?
Yeah.
Because in my thinking, I've been married for 23 years, so obviously I'm out of the dating scene, but if I wasn't sure if he was interested in me or I wasn't sure if there was anything long-term in his mind, for me, I think I would just ask him. I wouldn't spiral in my own thoughts of, does he like me, does he not, does he like... I would just be like, hey, where's this going? What are you interested in doing?
Yeah, I would never ask that,
Oh,
Lisa.
okay, they push back. Tell me why. Why is that bad?
I wouldn't ask that because I watch how men move in their day-to-day lives, especially when they're ambitious, successful men. They can go after everything else in their life with vigor and they know exactly what they want. It doesn't change when they get to women.
Oh, so you're saying you would know, so you shouldn't have to ask.
I would know because his actions, his patterns, his consistency, his efforts, and his words would all line up to let me know that I wouldn't have to guess. If I have to guess, for me, it's a no. Absolutely. Because when a man wants you, you never have to guess. Think about it like this. The men that women typically don't want, they keep coming. It doesn't change just because you like the guy. Typically, women have these conversations when they are more invested in the man than the man is invested in them. But if you really look at all of the men that you did not want, they constantly came toward you even when you rejected them. So why would I have to try to figure it out for a man that supposedly liked me? I made a comment and the internet went crazy. I said, if you heal the little boy within him, the man you want will show up. They thought I meant doing something for him. No, what I meant was being. Women think that our job is to fix people. That's not our job. Our job is to live in our authentic truth. So for instance, what that looks like is, for me, I work with a lot of men. Majority of my clients now are men. Now, when a man comes into my presence, when we get to talking, he totally turns into this 10-year-old boy. I don't care how much money he has, what his occupation is, it doesn't matter. That interaction that we have, and I could just be sitting there like this, and I'm talking like this, and I'm asking them questions, and I'm seeing them, that I hear them. I'm not trying to fix them. They're speaking to me, and I'm saying, so what I hear you saying is.
Can you break down a couple of little things that you just did, because your tone changed, your body changed?
Did you notice?
Did you
notice?
Yeah. Can you break down some of those?
So typically, like if I'm on a date, I sit next to my date. I don't sit across. To me, it's more like a business meeting.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more intimate. When I talk to men, I lower my voice like this. And it's not because I'm trying to manipulate them, but they hear different. And so when I'm speaking to them, I also speak a lot slower. And I regurgitate back what I heard them say. I don't want to get things misconstrued. What I'm hearing you say is. And then if I know it's stupid what they said, it might have been stupid. I want them to hear how stupid it is. But I don't say it like, that was stupid. Why would you say that? I'll say, so what you're saying is, if a woman does hard labor, she's not feminine anymore? Is that what I hear you say? So you said your mother was a strong woman. Is your mother a very masculine woman? I'll do that.
Your head tilts as
The
well.
head tilt. Yeah. So see, I didn't even notice it because it just comes so natural. So I understand the body language when you're talking to men, and I also understand how they receive the information. It's not a sexual thing.
No, it didn't feel like it.
It's just more of, I see you. It's a softer tone, because you got to remember, when men talk to women like you and I, they already think, okay, she's empowered, she can be shrewd, she can be firm, and I change the dynamic. I have to be more shrewd and more firm when I talk to women. And here's the reason why. Women are used to abuse. I hate to say this. If you look at a lot of the podcast guys that are on and that have a lot of views and they have a lot of larger listenership, they talk to women about women like trash.
They're fucking assholes. Sorry for swearing, but literally, I can't believe men.
Yeah.
And women sit there and just take it.
Because that's what they're accustomed to. And when you understand, one of the reasons why I stopped working with women is I couldn't have the conversation like you and I are having now. I couldn't coach like this. They wouldn't get it until I would say something like, this is the shit that I'm talking about. Why are you doing this? Why? But I don't live in that energy. But unless I took it to another step, and women like to say, no, you can't talk to me like that. Lies. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I know who my client is. They're the woman that is the hard woman. She is trying to tap into her femininity. She's a woman that she is trying to be broken from her old ways of doing things. She doesn't know how. So I can't come in at her with, oh my God. She's not going to hear me. It's like, listen, this is what it's going to be. Either you're going to do the work, or why did you hire me anyway? Well, Miss April, no, don't Miss April me. You didn't hire me to be your friend, to coach you through this. So this is the assignment, and I want to make sure you get it done. Men, so tell me about the last 5 women that you dated, because I'm seeing a pattern here. They open up like a rose, because I don't have to be masculine with them like I have to be with the women. And the reason why these men who talk to women any kind of way and about them on these podcasts, women are accustomed to that, and their nervous system is wired for trauma. And then you see women doing counter videos to this instead of just saying, oh, this doesn't apply to me. Let me move on. They're not going to do it because they're triggered. So it's very difficult to work with women when they are so used to losing. They don't know when you put them in a position to win, and they don't realize, I'm not trying to diminish you. I'm trying to rip off the Band-Aid and put some Neosporin on it and then bandage you back up. No, that doesn't work. So when I coach men, it's drastically different. And men, they're like, okay, so what do I need to do? Number 1, this woman, you're gonna have to leave her alone because you don't like her like that in the first place. She is reminiscent of your childhood and how your mother talked to you. Now, if I said to a woman like that, it's like, what do you mean? I didn't choose that. Girl, listen, I can't do this, because what it was doing was it was putting more stress on my body, coaching women at that level. And because I had to be very dogmatic all the time. With the fellas, oh, you've been successful in business, you put all your energy here, but you never develop relationship capital. Let's work on that. The vulnerability that women want to see in men, that's easy for me to get out of them just by changing the posture and the head to everything that you notice. It does that. And those are the things that women say, I shouldn't have to do that. Why can't he just, I don't make the rules. Yeah. I didn't say it was right. I never say it's right. Yeah. It's just what it is.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys, we'll be right back with Dr. April. But for 1 second, if you're struggling to build your confidence, if you're struggling to set boundaries and stand up for yourself, whether that's in a relationship or at work or with your family, and you don't feel like you have a voice, then smash the subscribe button down there so that you can get notified every single time an episode comes out. Because we are here to learn the tools and tactics together so we can build our confidence and make sure that we always stand in our power. So smash the subscribe button. Now let's get back to the episode. So I've heard you talk about, in your past, you even refer to yourself as you used to be a man-eater.
Oh, yes. I was going to get them before they got me, and I viewed men differently. And I had one situation, I was at this club and my girlfriends and I, we were there, and I would do stuff like, just because I could, it was like, let me turn it on. It was one of those things where Marilyn Monroe, she had something in a book where she said, she was out and she asked someone, she was like, you want to see me do it? And they were like, what do you mean? You want to see me become Marilyn? No one saw her in her regular clothes. They didn't see she was Marilyn. But even in her regular clothes, she was able to turn it on and all of a sudden everybody sees her as Marilyn, even though she's dressed down. That's what I used to do. I would go into a place and I would look around like, let's play. And I would spot a man. And I knew that I could lure him to do whatever it was that I wanted because I understood them so well. And there was one guy, he's dancing with a girl, so her back's to me, he's here, and I'm standing against the wall, and he looks at me, and our eyes locked. I said, got him. I knew what it was at that moment. I go to the ladies' room, and I knew he was going to be standing outside of the ladies' room. When I come out, I said, I knew you'd be standing here. He said, how did you know? I said, because I saw you see me. So I knew you were going to be standing here. And he says, well, I would love to get your number. I said, but what about the lady that you're with? And he says, well, it's just a date. It's just a, I was like, I said, you're too easy. And I left. Because I knew I could. So that's a different type of power if you don't use it properly. And during that time, I was probably in my early 20s, and I was the man eater. Although, funny thing is, I still desire love, and I'm still sensitive, and I'm still that girl, but I had to put up this wall because all I knew was abuse. So I like men, but I'm going to get them before they get me because they're going to try to get me. I had to really learn how not to be that woman.
So completely understand how you got there. Like, completely, right? It's a power play.
It was a power play.
My entire life, my power has been stripped from me. No more. Yes. And that no more feels damn empowering.
Yes.
And so you going into that club, well, I'm sure now you're like that poor woman and ouch.
Yeah.
It wasn't probably your best moment.
No.
But being able to own it, I think, is amazing. So thank you for sharing that story. B, not judging yourself for it and going, that's just where I was. And then C, recognizing it for what it was and going, oh, this can be used for evil.
Yes.
And so knowing that you have that power and that it doesn't feel good and then making the change. Ooh, all right, girl, you exude confidence. I've heard you talk and there's a story that you share.
Okay.
It's such a good story. Oh my God, you got such big balls, if I could be crude to say that. So you talk about women don't actually just say what they want. And there's a story where you're about to go on stage and you see about 5 or 10 other women getting on stage and they're struggling going up the steps. They've got the heels on. Please finish that story.
Lisa, listen. I think what you saw, I was getting an award and I was going up some steps. I was getting ready to go up some steps and I watched every woman before me just go up the steps and there were no rails. I'm like, no, I will not. There are men in this room.
And I'm like 6 inches.
Yes. And I'm like, can you help me up the steps? And the guys, they got up and they helped me up the steps. When I was coming down, a lady was there to help me down. I said, can you help me down? Because I believe that women want men to do things, but they take that power away. Women say chivalry is dead, but walk so fast that they're opening their own doors. You know, they are not allowing a man to help them, but then they say, oh, these men are weak. They're confused. They're not weak, they're confused. Do I help you? Don't I help you? But women don't understand. Women have made men feel like it's wrong for them to do those things, or he's thirsty. He's doing too much. And so men just like, well, I won't do anything. And then it becomes, why aren't you stepping to me as a man? Make up your mind, girl, because they're confused. And I believe men like to do those things, but I also believe that women have played a huge part in why they don't.
Yeah, I've actually heard you say that it took you time to really acknowledge the difference between your fear and intuition.
Yes, they feel so much alike. So I was dating two guys at the same time. And one was the perfect gentleman. The other one, he was, let's call him the flame.
I'm so waiting to see what word you're gonna use.
He was that thing, right? And so I remember I was out with one of them one day, and then next week I went out with the other. The one that was the one that kept me in anxiety and all of that, I felt comfortable holding his hand. The one that was the good guy, I felt like I was gonna vomit when he held my hand. And I had to go through this process because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. He didn't do anything wrong. Why do I feel like this? Okay, and so I'm a person that I always go inward. I will self-actualize some of everything. And I do a lot of internal work to try to figure me out. And I realized, all right, April, what you were feeling with this guy was not fear at all. This guy was the one that you should have chosen. But your nervous system, and what I call Jessica in my book, Identity Switch, Jessica is the subconscious mind. Jessica wasn't used to this type of treatment. Jessica was used to this type of treatment. So his actions were in alignment with what my subconscious was wired with. This guy, I literally, Lisa, I stopped dating after that, and I literally had to rewire my subconscious mind so she would be programmed for good treatment. He was treating me good, but I got fearful of that. This one was treating me in alignment with what I was accustomed to. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like him.
Can you explain what those things were? The things that were actually feeling good, but were actually red flags?
Well, I like men that know how to communicate. He was not the best communicator. He was a man that was emotionally unavailable. Oh, he was so emotionally unavailable, but he was sexy. So it was you kind of give a pass for certain things.
That's part of the trap.
That's part of the trap. He was sexy. He was like 50, and his body looked like a god, and he was just everything. And so I got caught up in that because, once again, that's the type of men that I was used to. And he fit the description, but I'm not paying attention at the time to everything he's doing is still in alignment with the men of your past that you accepted. But beautiful thing that happened, I grew through that, and we saw each other maybe a year later. And he said, April, I would like to cook dinner for you. And you still have that little residue.
This is the red flag man.
The red flag man. And so this is how I knew I had grown, because it was like a year after. And I said, well, you know what? I'll let you cook dinner for me, because of course he's still the sexy guy. And I wanted to see maybe had he grown. What I learned, and it was so liberating to me in that moment. So he took me on a tour of his home. Again, he said, April, look at what I did to my home since the last time you've been here. Okay. I said, it looks nice. But what he didn't know that I remembered was that he had went through a traumatic experience in 2008. He had lost millions of dollars in his portfolio with this real estate stuff development he was doing. And when that happened, the room, even when we first met, the room still had the old fax machine, everything the way it would look in 2008. Every other room he took me to, it was all filled with things. And I'm thinking, he's not planning his life to bring someone into it. He's planning his life to be by himself. He's not knowing that I'm paying attention, because I had grown in that year. And so he's not realizing I'm assessing everything. So we're on the deck and we're eating. And I said, love, I said, you're gonna be a bachelor for a long time. I said, you're a sexy bachelor and you know that. He said, what do you mean? And I said, you don't have room for a woman to love you. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, let's start off with your home. There's no room for a woman here. And I said, that room in the back, it's still set up like 2008 when you lost everything. You have not energetically removed any of that stuff. So there's no room for a woman to be here, to love you. And he said, well, April, I can put stuff in the closet, or I can take some stuff. I said, I'm not asking you to do that. I just identified that you don't have room for a woman to love you. And I said, when was the last time you ever were in love? He said, 1994.
Oh, wow.
And that was the last time I saw him.
Coming up.
I believe that a man cannot get over on a woman who takes her time to cultivate herself.
Okay, now in hindsight, let's talk about the green flag man that
Yes.
made you nauseous.
Yes.
What are the green flags that you saw? You're like, oh God, no.
Yes.
That now you think that you would welcome. And why did you reject them actually?
Well, here's the thing. I always liked his green flag. It was my inner that was not accustomed to it. Like, for instance, one day I was going to the doctor and I was driving and I heard this little bumpy thing in the car and I'm like, okay, did I get a flat tire? And he just happened to call. And he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to the doctor, but I heard this bumpy thing in the car, and he knows I don't know anything about cars.
Bumpy thing?
Yeah, bumpy thing. He
said, a technical term?
Yeah. He said, is it your tire? I said, I don't know, it's just bumping, it's bloopy, that thing is going on. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm headed to my doctor. He said, send me your location. So I pinned him, sent him my location. When I got out of the doctor's office, he was there. He said, you do have a nail in your tire, but it's enough to get to the tire repair shop. He said, follow me. I followed him. He got the tire repaired, gave me a kiss and said, I'm headed back to work. I'll talk to you later. We can do dinner later. Another thing, which was a green flag, which I was very nervous to tell him about. In 2019, I was diagnosed with lupus. Oh. And I felt some sort of way about that. Well, when he and I met, I was trying to do everything to send him on his way. And we were out to dinner and he said, why, you seem sad today? And I said, well, I got some news that I'm not really happy about. He said, what is that? I said, well, it's not your issue, I don't want to put any burdens. He said, what is it? I said, well, I was diagnosed with lupus. He said, okay, I'm not going anywhere. He said, we're going to figure it out. Like, everything was like in alignment with what women would say that they want, but because I hadn't done some deeper work. And when the other guy came, I believe that was the last little remnant of the work that I needed to do because he was a trigger for me. And I was telling my friend just yesterday, we were talking about it, and I said, girl, you know what it was? He reminded me of my ex-fiance. He was the image of that, from how he spoke, to his hands, to his sense of humor, everything, including his emotional unavailability. So I'll never forget, we were sitting there on that couch the night that I was there, and he pointed at me, he said something. I completely turned into this little girl, and I went back to the past. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're effing April Mason. What are you doing? How are you sitting here feeling like this little itty bitty girl, like you are backed into a corner, like you're a little puppy? What is going on? That's how I knew something was off. I should not feel this way with a man that is supposed to like me or I'm supposed to like him. My system shouldn't be off like that. That's when I started really diving in to figure that out. The other guy, my nervous system was calm. Nothing. But it was the fear of that because it was unknown. Mm-hmm. That was familiar. And when I tell you, I've never felt like that before, but in that moment, I said, love is not supposed to feel like this. I'm not supposed to feel like the little girl who's gone through the abuse, because I dealt with 12 years of sexual abuse, and I've dealt with 2 rapes. All of a sudden, my body feels like this again. And this man, he actually hadn't done anything. But the way he looked, how he stood, his stature, everything was reminiscent of the past. And I just kind of cowardly caved in. And to the world, I'm like, oh no, I'm April Mason. But in that moment, it was like I was a wet puppy left out in the cold and I'm in the corner shivering in that moment.
Dude, thank you for your transparency. The amount of women, strong women that have done that and felt that is crazy. And so I keep going back to why, right? If we have confidence in one area where you can stand up, and yet there is someone with a certain wiring of just enough of this, just enough of that, that it reverts you back to your childhood. Yes. The woman that didn't feel like she had the power. So one thing I want to ask you right now is, when you find yourself being re-triggered or triggered, you actually have 3 steps of how to deal with your trigger. And so I've heard you talk about the 3 steps. So number 1 is you have to assess the situation.
Yes.
Number 2, you accept what it is. And then number 3, you decide how you're going to move forward.
Yes. So for me, assessing the situation really means pausing. Women don't like to pause. You know, our emotions are on our sleeves and we hear something and we are just 1,000 miles an hour. Assessing the situation requires you to be still for a minute and really take in, how does this make me feel? Why am I upset about it? What did this person do? Why does this feel like a violation? And I start playing all of this in my head, but I have stepped back. I've learned how to have emotional intelligence. I don't just, run off and just start blah, 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 blah. Because what I found out is when women do that, they still don't get the result that they want.
Right.
They only get the emotional release, but they don't get the result that they want.
Well, then the emotional release then sometimes ends up in, I think, equating into shame and guilt that you said it and did it.
Yes. And then if you're arguing with someone else, all you did was emotionally dump on them and they still don't give you what you want. So I believe that every woman, or just people in general, take 5 seconds before you speak. And I sit with that until I figure it out. And then I accept what that is. Regardless if it was my fault, regardless if it was someone else, I accept what it is. And then I decide how I'm going to move forward. My way of deciding how I'm going to move forward is never making it about the other person. I'm deciding to remove myself from it. I don't have to make an announcement. I don't have to have closure. I don't have to send a long text messages that nobody's going to read. All I'm going to do is say, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't like how this made me feel, this trigger. I'm just going to remove myself without needing the validation of telling anybody else. It's kind of like people, when they go on your social media, they don't like what you said and said, I'm unfollowing. You didn't have to make an announcement. Just go.
I know.
You think I'm going to stop you? Let me help you block.
But people want to make a statement.
They want to make a statement, and women do that all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
They will send a man a long text message, and he'll respond with, K.
Oh, God, that drives me nuts. That's infuriating.
And they hate that. And it's like, no, you're making it about somebody else's validation of your feelings, and you should be the only validation that you need. And women don't know that. They don't know that I'm enough. How I feel matters. How people treat me matters. I don't have to sacrifice and give myself to everybody, but I'm in control. Women can be in control in their careers, but not in their own lives. And so that's why we see such huge discrepancies in, you have the successful woman here, but when it comes to a relationship or men in general, she is just bankrupt. It's because there's no balance. They've put the effort into becoming the woman here academically, career, educationally, but when it comes to womanhood, femininity, spirituality, wisdom, and sensuality, it's at an all-time low. And they can tell you all about their career, but when you ask a woman who she is, she's going to tell you what she does.
That's so true. That validation piece as well really hit me, because I've been there. I have been that woman. I've been the woman that looked around at everybody else to validate me. I was a stay-at-home wife for 8 years, and every time he was coming home, I was waiting for that moment of validation where he would say, oh my God, doesn't the house look lovely? Oh my God, this meal tastes delicious. And I realized the biggest change of my life was when I took ownership. Only you get to validate yourself, Lisa. And I love my husband more than life itself. So it's very important of what he thinks about me. So I don't want to pretend, but I have to make sure that I show up every day feeling worthy. And this is why I freaking love you and your work, because what you wrote in a book, actually I'd love to pull them out. You write 24 different traits that as a woman, if we master these, we're no longer looking external. We're no longer looking at other people to validate us. And so now actually it makes us a more confident woman, and it allows us to be a better partner in a relationship, which then equals an amazing relationship.
Exactly.
So number 1, respect.
Respecting yourself, first and foremost. A lot of times we don't respect ourselves and we're waiting for somebody else to do it for us. Well, why would he or she do this? Well, why did you allow it? Why didn't you have certain boundaries? So respect, to me, it starts with respecting yourself and saying no to things you want to say no to, and not allowing yourself to feel, I'm less of a woman if I do say no.
One of the things that allowed me to show myself that I respect myself is by respecting my time.
Yes, respecting your time and respecting your own commitments to yourself. Everything you said you were going to do, why haven't you done it? But if someone asks you to do something they want you to do, you can commit to that and see it all the way through.
I would say yes to things that I never wanted to do, but I was like, but they want me to do it, so I need to show up for them. When on earth am I showing up for myself?
Exactly, and we're not taught to. We're taught to be of service. We are taught that everything that we have as women is for our children, our husbands, our job, everybody else. And then people can look down on you if you say, I'm putting myself first. And I had to learn how to do that when my sons were in the 9th and 11th grade. I had to learn to say, I hear online, F them kids. Is what I had to learn. And women were like, wait a minute, so you don't put your kids first? Hell no, not anymore. I said, and here's why. It's not that you're being an irresponsible parent, but your whole identity is wrapped around that. So once your identity has become something outside of you, you're going to go the distance to make sure that you're showing up even at your own risk. And my son, he learned that prom. He told me last minute, Mom, we gotta go to the store because I gotta get my suit. And I'm like, how long have you known this, Corey? He said, oh, Mom, I've known it for a while, but tomorrow's the last day. Mom. And I had friends in town from Florida. I said, okay. He wasn't used to that. It was typically, I'm gonna fuss. I can't believe you waited this late. And you see, I have friends out of town. We're having a barbecue. But I would have done all that. I didn't. I said, okay. I said, your poor planning has nothing to do with me. I have friends here. It's not that I'm not going to take you, but you're on my time now. You acquiesce to me, I don't acquiesce to you. And that's when my kids really start shifting, like, oh, Ma is not playing. She's not playing. So now they've learned that I come first and how I feel, and then I will deal with you. Because if I'm no good, nobody is.
Have you seen now a change in their behavior where they respect your time and your decisions more because of that?
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. So much so that my daughter and son-in-law, they don't expect me to babysit like that. They'll say, Mom, what does your schedule look like in the next 30 days?
Oh my God, that's so good.
Because I decided that I'm just as important and you guys are not going to beat me down, and nor am I going to beat myself down for putting me first. It's other women that try to make you believe you're not a good parent if you don't do everything for the kids. No. So I had to retrain my children so that I could put myself first. And I think women believe that if you do that, it's going to make them look down at you. Actually, it makes them more responsible and it makes them respect you more.
How did you make sure that you were strong in your conviction not to back off?
You know what? That's a good question. That's a really good question. I believe it had everything to do that I had gotten to a point that I realized I mattered.
Oh, yeah.
It was, April, look at everything you've done for everybody else. And I'm the oldest of 6. So, you know, I have the oldest child syndrome. So the responsible one, the one everybody calls, and I'm always there, and I'm a generous person with my time, resources, but I was doing that at my own risk. And I believe I started realizing that I mattered and my happiness mattered, and that people will acquiesce and adjust versus me trying to make everybody happy, because you're not going to.
I don't have kids, so I don't want to pretend that I know, but I would assume in that moment, if you don't have such high conviction in yourself that is the right thing to do for you and your self-esteem and your confidence, a lot of women in that moment will back off. The amount of, I think, women would feel the crushing guilt and shame, and then you acquiesce, you back off, and now you're teaching, so going back to like the respect, show yourself that you make a commitment and respect the commitment. You've now done the complete opposite. And now you actually show yourself that you don't respect yourself at all.
And you're teaching your kids not to respect you.
Yes, and that your boundaries are porous.
Your boundaries are movable. And it doesn't mean, because when I say this, women think that I'm saying just abandon all your responsibilities. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying rearrange how you do what you do with the people that you do it for, and they will be okay.
And so now, in building that respect muscle, if you will, how does that then echo in making sure that you never settle and know your worth when it comes to relationships?
It's the same thing. If I commit to me and I respect myself, my commitments, and my time, oh, you better be sure to understand you will too. Especially in the dating phase, this is the perfect time to decide if this person is going to respect those things. And you can just, it was nice, but you don't have to tolerate that.
Yeah. Oh, that was just number one, girl. That was so good. Okay, so we've got number 2, which is sincerity. We've got number 3, authenticity. Number 4, individuality. So talk to me about individuality and how that can actually make for A, building your self-esteem and confidence, and then B, how that actually makes for a better relationship.
I believe most women don't know who they are. If you, now, I hope the ladies don't get upset, but if you look at today, most women look alike. There's no big distinction.
I've never thought about it.
Everybody's in athleisure wear. They got the messy bun, or they have what they call it, the long eyelashes, or the long weaves. They all look the same. And I believe women create their aesthetic, regardless of what they say, off what they think men like. Versus, let me find out who I am and find out what my style is. How can I be my own individual without running it through, will this person like it? Will I be offensive to them if I do certain things a particular way? What does that look like for me? I don't believe women do that. Like back in the day when, if you watched MTV, the women, they were all different. You could go from a Cyndi Lauper all the way over to a Taylor Dane. There was so much distinction, but we don't really have that. And I don't believe that women really take themselves seriously enough to find out who they are. What does that look like? And are you okay with being that?
That's what I was going to say. Are you okay with it? And do you have the internal strength to maintain it? Because there are many scenarios where I can see you trying something new. But when you're trying to be validated, when you just want to be liked, when you don't have the confidence in that moment, April, where you're trying something new and someone comes at you and makes a snide comment, a sarcastic remark, how do you make sure that you don't negotiate? How do you stay true in your conviction, even if you want to be liked?
Critics are only critics when what you're offering isn't for them. If I resonate with you, I resonate with you. If I don't, I don't. I'm not trying to. It's like when you understand you really only get one life, you stop giving two rats' asses about what anybody has to say. And in a relationship, like, here's another one for the Mr. Flame guy.
Yeah. Oh.
He met me dressed up. I typically dress like this all the time. All of a sudden, he would say, why don't you dress down? You always dressed up. I'm like, but that's how you met me. And it started digging away. I'm like, wait a minute. Hell no, this is who I am. Like, this is what you like when you met me. And he says, well, you seem like you don't relax. It seems like you don't let your hair down. So one day, I said, all right, let me see what this looks like. I own maybe 1-2 pair of jeans. And I wore some jeans and a cutesy little shirt, and I felt so out of pocket. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? April, you like dresses. And one day I was out. It was one time I went out and we were smoking cigars. I had never smoked a cigar before. And I said, oh, you guys, I have this cigar and I've never done this before. The internet went crazy. A feminine woman doesn't smoke cigarettes. I'm like, tell that to Lucille Ball. Tell that to all of the women back in the day.
That cigars sexy as hell.
That's what I thought, and I didn't know what I was doing. But that's not femininity when you smoke a cigar. And it was the first time this guy was showing us how to do it, and I posted it online. And so I got so much backlash about that. I'm like, oh, you guys think femininity is a performative thing. You think I lose my femininity because I chose to try out a cigar? And I said, but all of the women, if you look at the movies back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, some of the most feminine women, they had Virginia Slims. And I tell women, stop worrying about what other people think. What do you think?
What I do love is that you tried it. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I tried it.
But I like it.
Yeah.
I think that's important because when you're in a relationship, I used to be very dogmatic. Oh, this is who I am.
Yes.
You're not changing. Because I was so afraid of someone coming and manipulating me.
Yes.
Because my ex did that. So I came in very bull in the china shop. This is who I am. I'm not going to budge for anybody. And then obviously I met my husband. And over time, the thing that actually brought us together was him saying what he wanted, me saying what I wanted, us giving it a shot.
Yes.
If it's aligned with our values, us giving it a shot and then going, nah, I don't like it.
Yep.
In that moment, I'm like, thank you for so much for trying. So I love that you still tried, even if it wasn't aligned with who you know to be, because you never know.
Yes.
That is such a strong, going back to this list of how we start to build our self-worth to make sure that we never negotiate.
So for me, it wasn't just the outfit. It was, if we decide to be together, in order for him to feel comfortable with me, I'm going to have to be in this state majority of the time. That's what it became for me.
Oh, that's a masterclass in being able to see the through line.
Yes, that's what I call emotional intelligence and having intellectual maturity and awareness of who you're dealing with and yourself. Because women might try to soften it and be like, oh, you know, it's not that big of a deal. My life is, they'll try to downplay it. I just listened. And so when little things like how I dress came up, I said, okay, this is going to be something on a consistent basis, because it wasn't all the time. Even though he wasn't necessarily saying it, that's one of the gifts I believe that the Creator gave me. I'm able to see what's not being said. And I'm like, okay, if we do this, he's going to always complain about my clothes. And another thing he said was that let me know was going to be an issue. He said, yeah, I looked online. I said, wait, I wanted to see, what are you yapping about today? You think my job is yapping? Duly noted.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. You're master at this, because those are the things that so many people can't see, and it doesn't look like a red flag, doesn't really feel like a red flag in that moment. It's like, oh, he wants me to dress down, sure. And you don't realize that it becomes the dripping effect.
That's what it is. It's the dripping effect. And I believe that the reason why women don't realize it is because they're not connected to their femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom. That's the only 4 GPS that women need. They can avoid narcissists, psychopaths, they can avoid non-committal men, they can avoid emotionally unavailable men, because when you're connected to those things, there's only a certain point that they're going to allow you to get to. And if you go over it at that point, you are dishonoring yourself.
That's part of the master trap, in the sense of if it was all the time, you would recognize it and then bail.
Yes.
And that's where so much of my heart breaks when I hear from my community where they're like, he was really nice, he was really kind, he was charming. And then 4 years later, you know, I saw the other side of him and it was a disaster.
Yeah, the thing is, we see it afterwards.
Right, yeah. Oh, it's
awesome.
awesome.
Oh, I hated the way he breathed when he ate. I hate the way he chewed. Oh my God, I never paid attention to it before. Oh my God, one of his eyes went left. I never saw it before. You know, it's that. Oh, so why do you see it now? Why are all of a sudden the rose-colored glasses come off? What's changed? You don't like him anymore. Is what changed. It becomes everything. And it's like, girl, all of this stuff, your friends probably are the ones trying to tell you.
It's so true. You turn the blind eye when it's convenient.
When it's convenient, you turn the blind eye. That's why I believe that a man cannot get over on a woman who takes her time to cultivate herself. Men and fellas, they're not that bright when it comes to how they cover things. That's why they get caught cheating so much. Women, they don't give things time to maturate. They constantly are trying to get to the ring. Men are going to always show you who they are. Always. That's why you're able to see it later on down the line. Only thing that changed was you wanted him that much. You didn't have boundaries. You didn't respect yourself, and you didn't love yourself enough to say, this isn't for me. And you live from a place of lack. And that's one thing that I see women struggle with. And I used to do that until I completely made an identity switch and change. So your pool, in my opinion, the pool of men that you decide to entertain, they should all be husband quality if that's what you want. At this point, it's all about seeing if your values, lifestyle, standard, and attraction are in alignment. To me, that's an indicator of your picker. That's an indicator of who you are. Now, I'm not saying that men can't get over, but it's very hard to get over on a woman who's connected to those 4 pillars, because she has other forces working on her behalf.
If we were taught this stuff when we were 5, when we were in kindergarten, then I think our picker would be way better.
Yes.
I think we wouldn't have a lot of these relationships where they've broken our heart and now we're just trying to come back. And so the echo of doing this work means that you can find somebody that actually accepts you for who you are and loves you for you. And if you don't find somebody, you don't negotiate your own worth.
And here's the thing I want women to understand. It doesn't mean you have to be mean. It doesn't mean you don't have to keep your warmth. It doesn't mean you have to sound like a dictator or very matter of fact. No. So for me, it's just a different energy you have to be in. You can't go in to, whether it's dating, whether it's life, feeling like somebody's always trying to out to get you. And you have to let go of your past experiences.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go through a few more, if that's all right. So we've got assertiveness, open-mindedness, curiosity, optimism, positivity, thoughtfulness, sensitivity. That's where I wanted to stop on. So talk to me about sensitivity, because growing up, I used to think that being a strong woman meant that you shut off your emotion and you were stoic. So talk to me about the power of sensitivity, how we can tap into it, and why that's actually great for our self-worth.
First and foremost, we have to stop being unbothered. We live in this unbotheredness. Everybody acts like nothing bothers them. And I remember my granddaughter was in kindergarten, and I had to take her to school the next day, but it was St. Patrick's Day. So we're at Walmart looking for a green shirt. And for a 5-year-old, it was a shirt that says, "Text me, don't call me." And I'm like, why? What,
For a 5-year-old?
For a 5-year-old. And to me, my mind went to, we don't feel, we don't engage. And I believe a lot of women, they don't want to feel because feelings never got them where they wanted to go. And I need to show that I am strong, but yet if I show I'm sensitive and that I hurt and that I feel, somebody's gonna take advantage of that. What women don't understand is when we hold that in, it's messing up our nervous system. I don't know, you may not see it on camera, but I often have to go like, you'll see me put my shoulders down. And the reason is because my body has started holding memory from the time I was a little girl to where I've always been clenched up. So I have to be so aware, Lisa, that once you replay it, you might notice that I put my shoulders down. That's because even though I'm speaking with you, I have to be aware, April, your body is tensed. We have to have that level of awareness to every sensitivity that we have. And that's how I started even healing my own nervous system.
What does that first step look like? How did you even get to the point where you could recognize, your shoulders are up, and then why your shoulders are up and where it stems from, and unwiring that will help heal the trauma?
So the thing was, I was on a date.
And these dates are great, by the way. They're teaching you so much.
I learned so much from my dates. So I was on a date and I noticed my body language was off. I enjoyed him, but my body was saying something else. And then I tuned in and I'm like, why am I like this? But we were having a great conversation and everything was going fine. And I was thoroughly enthralled with him. It was just beautiful. But my body was...
like sitting back.
Yeah, it was guarded.
Yeah.
Now, we never went on another date, and I thought about it. I'm like, I wonder, now that I'm aware, if my body language played a part in, regardless of what I was saying, because they say what, your body tells more like 70% than what your words can ever say or something like that. So I oftentimes, when I'm out, I'll check in and then I'll just put my shoulders down. When I'm laying in the bed, I'll notice that I'm tense. So I'm literally in the process of healing my nervous system, because when you go through traumas and abuses, your body starts holding the memory of the trauma. And so I'm not in the trauma state mentally or emotionally, but the body keeps score. So now I'm in that healing process. So I would say being okay in that with even those body sensitivities, not just emotional, it's really is a awareness. How aware can you be with yourself? How can you tune in? One of the things that I teach my women to do to tune in, we have these expensive phones. Get your phone, program your phone 5 times a day, and tell it to remind you, how am I feeling? How do I feel about myself today? Where am I at? And you just check in with yourself 5 times a day.
That's so powerful. Okay, so we've got number 12, warmth. We've got number 13, charisma. Talk to me about charisma, because this is one of these, I've just done a lot of interviews on narcissists. I hate to say, but if you see charisma with a guy, you should be a little careful. But I love that it's on your list of what we have to do to feel worthy.
Yes.
Talk to me about charisma, especially in a woman.
I love it because I have it. And I'm not a narcissist or a psychopath. But for me, I believe being charismatic and being fun and being free and being liberated in who you are, that's a beautiful thing. And what people don't understand about it is charisma opens doors. Women have lost charisma, they've lost charm, they've lost sensuality. Those are key components that open up doors, and honestly, a lot of women are not financially where they need to be, and those 3 things help you get to your money. It helps you transition your finances. It's not just the hard work. It's not just the hard work. It's because we're so used to hustling and grinding. I'm anti-hustle, anti-grind. I am more, I'm going to use all of who April Mason is, the charisma, the sensuality, the girl, and all of the things, the witty, I love witty banter. I'm going to use that. But at the same time, I am going to still be what I call a feminine CEO. And I noticed when I started going at life that way, I started to heal my body and I made more money. It wasn't the hustle and grind. So I often use my charisma and it opens doors because I'm just naturally like that. And sometimes people will think, oh, maybe I don't want to be too much. Be her. People are lacking fun, excitement, fantasy, enjoyment. You may not be like me, you may be a little bit more introverted, but you still can have charisma in how you show up in the world. You know, have a smile on your face. Get rid of the resting bitch face. Stop looking like somebody's always bothering you, like you're always irritated. Oh, you're always looking like you have a bowel movement that you're getting ready to take. Let's not do that. Let's just be fun and exciting and have a little bit of charisma. And also, another part of that is be interested, not just interesting. When you're interested in other people and you're genuinely interested in what they have going on in their life, that charisma that you have will transform everything. Lisa, I'm telling you, there's doors that have been opened for me that I don't know. I didn't know how I got into it because I didn't have the degrees or the certifications and things, but it was my charisma and how I made people feel that opened up the door.
You've got to the point now where you can say, like, just be you, be charismatic.
Yeah.
I can too. Like, I've worked on my charisma. I've worked on opening up those gates and allowing it to come flooding because I was taught as a young kid, girls speak when spoken to. That was literally a guy patted me on the head and said that. Ooh. So you can imagine growing up, I start to think if you're too much, people won't like you. That too much. So the too much, how do you take that first step to then be okay with it? And I would love for you to tell the story. I believe you were starting your own business and you were opening up a building.
Oh, you did your research?
I did my research, girl. I've read your books, I've watched your interview. So now going to, most of us women play small.
Yes. So that story, I was opening up my headquarters in Atlanta, and my best friend, Dr. Bobby Price, I sent him the draft of the sign. I said, oh, Bobby, what do you think about this? And it said All Things Feminine Social Club, because that's a part of the brand. And he said, April, that's nice, but why isn't your name on the front? I'm like, Bobby, what? He said, All Things Feminine Social Club is a part of the April Mason brand. Why isn't that up there? So I had to sit with that for about a couple of days. I said, April, so what is the issue with your name being on the building? One of the things that I've learned in this healing process is that when you have felt rejected or abandoned and you've gone through traumatic situations, for me, like I said, the 12 years of the sexual abuse, the rapes, I lived in a shelter, I lived in my car. Like when you've gone through all of these things, you don't always feel worthy and you don't want people to see and you don't like conflict. So what ended up happening is I'm laying in my bed and I'm like, okay, what is the problem? And I had to realize I didn't want to be seen. It was easy for me to get online, get my phone, say what I got to say, boom, bang, pow. But I can close that and nobody ever knows where I am. Me putting my name on that building made a statement. You had to see me. And because I had not gotten the fear out of my body, like with the work that I'm doing now, I was always afraid. And my body, I lived in a state of fear all the time. And I love them, but I do have some really interesting supporters, like especially the men. They would show up. God told me you were my wife. No, he didn't. You know. So I would get some weird stuff to where I would be afraid to go outside. And so I said, how do you make yourself feel safe? So one of the things that I did was I put a alarm system around my home. So I started doing things, you know, more tangible things than just inner work. I was like, okay, I feel a little safe. What else do you need to do? I went and learned how to shoot and got my gun license. So, great. I feel a little bit more safe. I started putting myself out by myself. Oh, more safety. And so I had to ask myself, what would make you feel comfortable in this all the time? And I had to do more inner work to heal parts of me that made me feel unsafe. Why? And it stemmed, the very thing that came to me is I didn't feel safe or protected as a child because if I had, all of these things would not have happened. So although I was young at the time, as an adult, it still was there and I was still functioning as if I was in survival mode. And I'm like, April, you're not in survival mode anymore, you know? And I had to really learn that. So I'm like, okay, April, keep working on making sure your body feels safe. And maybe one day you don't have to worry about putting your shoulders down because now your body is consumed with safety and not the trauma anymore.
I need to pause for a second because, so I've done a lot of work on myself for years and years and years. This is so deep. The way you connected the dots with everything that you just said, with the whole shoulders, this is how real change happens. Like actual real change. And a lot of women turn to me for the confidence. I grew up completely insecure. And so when people turn to me and be like, how do you have the confidence? I'm like, it's years and years. It's years and years of being committed and dedicated to my change and my growth. Who do I want to be? And am I willing to do the work to get there? And the answer was yes. And it's been a long road. But the things that you're saying now, really, and I've said it multiple times, is a masterclass. If anyone right now wants to have true change in their life, relationship, business, anything, it's exactly what you just said. It's the piecing apart, seeing how your body is, seeing how your body reacts, testing different things, seeing if it's good for you or not, and then leaning into it or removing it.
And that's what I have been doing. So I'll say, okay, I sat in my femininity for so long that I've gotten the downloads that I need to get of everything that I should be doing because I sat and I'm listening. I'm only going to exert 15% of my masculinity to execute it. I'm not going to overdo it. Once I get tired, I'm going to go take a nap. And it took a while for me to get comfortable with that because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to my office, go to the computer, do what I need to do, talk to my team. But my body starts saying, you need to shut down. I'm like, dang, I'm in the middle of this, and this. You need to shut down. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave. You guys can handle it. And I would go home, even if it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, switch my clothes, either get in my bed or sit on my couch, pull up I love black and white movies, pull up an old black and white movie, and I would just sit and watch it.
Well, I can't believe you didn't actually say the punchline, woman.
What's the
you
punchline?
put your name on the freaking building.
I put my name on the building and the door. And people would come to town and be like, and I would get pictures from people. Miss April, I stopped by your office. I stopped by your office. It made me had a little anxiety at first, but I'm like, no. You're April freaking Mason. You've helped so many people transform their lives. You have a 90% success rate of helping women get engaged and married in a year. Why would they not want to come to April Mason's headquarters? So I became my own hype woman.
Yeah, when I went back and heard all of your stories about, your childhood and then your ex, I was like, wow, the fact that you are still able to show up confident, beautifully graceful, like all of that, but still very high conviction of who you are. There's a whole load of things that went along with that. And it all depends on what stage you're in. And the thing that I say is don't compare my finish to your beginning. And so what you're actually ahead of me now in that evolution. And I want to make sure that I say that out loud because I think that's beautiful. And my little putting my name on something, this is only recent. So this logo, I don't even know if my community has even noticed.
Oh, wow.
But this is new. I never had my name on it.
Really?
Ever. My entire channel was called Women of Impact. My name didn't exist. And that I started the channel 5 years ago. About a year ago, I changed the page to Lisa Bilyeu, but my show's still called Women of Impact. And this logo has only been up for a few months. Going into, I need stepping stones into owning who I am and what I bring to the table. And you can't throw me in the deep end. I'm the person that drowns. I need that little incremental.
Yes, that's me. Little by little.
Exactly. So you being able to share that story and say that you were the person that was never even thinking about putting your name on. You then doing the internal work, understanding why, and then making the decision to show up and really respect yourself. I really want to shine a spotlight on that because if that's the end goal, no matter where someone is right now, they've got time. And there's going to be a bunch of things they need to do to get there.
Yes, and they have to be okay with going through the emotional pain that comes with change. Now, although we said some beautiful things, I'm not going to act like it's not challenging.
No, give it to me, girl.
I literally, when I put my name on the building, I had to go against my fear. I literally had to, okay, Abe, you can do this. okay, just put it on the building, close my eyes, just put it on the building, just put it up there. And I'm like this. And they put it on the building. And then when I went by my building, I was like, oh my God, okay, quick. I'm gonna see my name up there. And it was beautiful. It was up there. But I had to do it in the fear. And doing it in the fear, it does what? It gives you another level of safety. Everything that I believe we're looking for as women is safety. And we cannot leave that to chance to somebody else to feel safe. We can't say, when I get a man, I'm going to be more safe and protected. We have to create that for ourselves.
Okay, there's a few more actually that I just would love to go through if you're okay with that. So we're at charisma, so we've got elegance, we've got charm, sensuality, influence, vision, cultural, social awareness, environmental stewardship, moral support, ethnical integrity, and compassionate.
Yes.
So being compassionate, that's one where I was like, I think everyone should be compassionate.
Yes.
I think that is a very kind and human thing to do for somebody. The problem is, as a woman, sometimes you're so compassionate, you ignore yourself and everything that you care about, and you're pouring into a man, let's just say for this example, who is wounded, who has the pain. And so you're so compassionate, you're pouring yourself into trying to help them heal. Now the problem is then now you've forgotten about yourself. Your self-care doesn't come first. And so going through your evolution, seeing where you've gone from being that type of woman to now this type of woman, building your self-worth, making sure you never settle, making sure that the breadcrumbs aren't the thing that strings you along, knowing that you control your future, it's honestly a freaking gift I hope every woman can receive. And knowing that it's possible, knowing that you've done the work, knowing that today we've almost just the surface of these types of things that you've had to do in order to make sure that you have and build your confidence has been beautiful. But if people want to learn more, if people want to go deep into your world and actually start to put these into true practice, where can they go?
Actually, the best place to go to learn these skills is allthingsfeminine.com. That's where, in there, I don't teach anything about men. Men talk, relationship talk is not allowed. Because I want women to separate their femininity, their womanhood from a relationship. I want them to get to learn about who they are outside of what they give to everybody else. I challenge you from your spirituality to, we have a section all about home decor, health and wellness. We have a lot of these subgroups for mothers, for wives. I need you to get to the point to where you understand your femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom will be the GPS you use, and not be able to blame what you attract on anything else. But now you're responsible for what you choose to entertain versus blaming it on what you attract. Because we attract, when you have a light, you attract everything, but you also repel certain things as well too. Like, I can't remember the last time I had a married man approach me. My energy doesn't say that. But before my energy didn't say that, they were coming out of the woodworks. When you learn your invisible value, there's things that you do not have to say. What do you say when a man asks you what you bring to the table? I've never been asked that. Because when you develop yourself, they can see it. That's what All Things Feminine Social Club is about. And so in September, my show comes back, The Feminine Ear, where men are seen, heard, and understood. It's a radio show where only men call in and ask me questions.
Oh, snap.
So I'm doing something a little bit different for them, because we can't keep helping the ladies and then leaving the men out in the cold, because these women want these men, but they have to be developed as well too. Right. So they can ask me questions and we take it from there, and hopefully there's a transformation that happens.
That's so cool. Guys, us women have been brought up with a GPS system where we didn't even get a choice to plug in the destination that we were going. But today I really hope that you've learned that you get to control that. You get to control the direction and the path that you walk. It's just about taking the tools, learning the lessons, and like she said, taking the ownership. And yes, it's not going to be easy. That yes, you're going to hear some hard things, but yes, you're dedicated to doing the damn work, because you know who you are today doesn't dictate the person that you can become. If you're willing to do the work right now, then the person you want to be can be achieved. The choice is yours. Guys, if you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button down there. If you're not following me, follow me at Lisa Bilyeu. And until next time, be the hero of your own life. Peace.
I like that. Be the hero of your own life.
If you want to learn how to actually step in and freaking own your worth and always choose yourself unapologetically, then you got to watch this interview right here.
I waited 55 years to get married. because my story was I'm worthy of being a girlfriend.